All right. You ready to do this?
Yes.
Let's do this.
Let's do that.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Alliance Group podcast. And we have a special guest today from the Brazilianaires and Five Rings Financial. We have Miss Soraia Close, a very dear friend of Alliance Group. And we're so excited. This is your first time in Stratton Studios, right?
Yes, yes. But I feel like home.
Yes. we really try hard to make it feel like home. And of course, Soraia, you've been so helpful with Alliance Group. We've worked with you on many different projects together. A wonderful person, a wonderful friend. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking today. You have a really interesting story. We were actually talking about this before we came in here to the podcast room. Someone who has built a life, a family, and a career here in the United States, but you actually came to the States when you were 26 years old, and you had no job, right? You didn't speak English yet. Yep. You didn't have any citizenship or anything like that. You kind of came for the American opportunity, and here we are. Just a few years later, you have built, like I said, a family, a career, and a thriving business at Five Rings Financial.
Yeah, and I could not ask for to be in a better place that I am right now.
Right. It's pretty amazing. Obviously, we know Kenny, your husband. We've been able to meet your boys. It's really awesome to see. You've been at the last 2 Alliance conferences?
No, the 3.
The 3.
Yeah.
So this will be your 4th coming up.
4th, yeah.
So someone who went from not, again, kind of the whole thing that people always say is you showed up in America with the clothes on your back and a dream, kind of, right? And now you've built this very successful career. I want to talk about that, and I want to give our viewers a little bit of insight into that, because I just think it's such an amazing and inspiring story. So kind of let's start back at the beginning. When you did arrive in the U.S., you're in your mid-20s, and what is your very first goal that you want to do is to secure employment, right?
Yes and no. Right. My story is a little different. I didn't come thinking that I want to have like a better life. I did have a good life in Brazil, but I had a boyfriend, right? That we met in Brazil.
The old story.
And, we dated, we did the long distance. He was living here in the U.S., and he went to Brazil a few times. I came here, I met his family, and then we decided that it was going to be better for me to move to the U.S. and instead of him going back to Brazil.
Right.
But yes, I had, of course, when I came to visit a few times, and I'm like, okay, and it's funny because it felt that I just lived here forever.
Right.
I just fit like right in, and it was very good. But there were a lot of challenges that, not speaking English at all.
Right.
In Brazil, I used to work in a bank, and coming here, I had to start
over
from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very challenging, but I came with a heart, like, I want to do this. I know I can handle, and
so not only learning to speak English, which you do beautifully, by the way. She's very self-conscious about her English. I keep telling her, your English is wonderful. But not only learning the language, but being able to kind of build a life and to assimilate. You were were you in the Orlando area?
No, South Florida.
Right.
I moved into West Palm Beach.
Gotcha.
Always in Florida, yeah.
Right. So tell me about your journey from arriving here to how you found Five Rings Financial. There was, you actually started cleaning homes, correct?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I had no idea what I was going to do. And this is something that most of the Brazilians ended up doing.
Right.
Right. In the very beginning, there's a lot of jobs available for men. They go to construction. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear that a lot. And, women, we usually go to the cleaning business. So I just found a cleaning company, because I had to learn. Mm-hmm. That was like the first thing, right? I had to learn how to clean. So I found a company that hired me. It was cleaning construction. Like, it was like very, very crazy. Wow. So I went on the first day. And
so you're cleaning actual like construction sites.
The post-construction.
Oh wow!
You know?
So that isn't like a little dusting.
No, no,
that's some heavy duty stuff.
And the funny thing is that I came back the next day. So the lady just looked at me and she goes, "Oh, you came back?" I'm like small.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm like, "Yeah, sure, right." So I did that just for a few days, and then she just liked it, the way that my attitude.
Sure.
There, and she said, I'll take you to the residential cleaning now. So it started like that, and and then she took me to those beautiful homes.
Right, those South Florida
to do,
homes.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But it was a good, it was a good learning process.
And you were actually, and this is actually where your entrepreneurial spirit was kind of born, right?
Because I did not even know.
Right. Because you realized fairly quickly that, okay, well, I could work for this company, or I could start my own business, right?
Yep.
Which would provide multiple benefits, right?
Exactly.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, we work by the hour when you do the cleaning, the cleaning job, and I had to work 10, 11 hours sometimes. And so I just find out that if I get my own homes, my own private jobs, I could charge, $70 or $80 and doing way less time.
Right.
So that's how I started. I started looking for people that needed the job. Once I got the same amount of money making in private residences, then I just left one day of the company.
Right.
So, I started doing the transition.
You transitioned
Transition, yeah. Because I needed a certain amount of money monthly, to pay for my bills, to pay for everything.
Sure.
So that's what I did. So it was about 7 months until, I started doing transitioning, and probably within a year, I started my own schedule.
And now are you learning English as you are doing this?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Did you just learn by being submersed in the English, or are you actually taking Rosetta Stone?
Sam, no. And here's the thing, the funniest thing, right? That was like 20 years ago.
Right.
We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have smartphones.
Yeah, right.
Right? Translate, like all those things.
Uh-huh.
So literally I used to carry my dictionary.
Oh my gosh.
Wherever I went. And, I took some classes in the beginning, but it was just so tiring, coming from working and then going to school at night. And I started watching like a little, it's not a video, but a little show.
Uh-huh.
Back in the day, it's called Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven.
Right?
Yeah.
Seventh Heaven, right?
I remember. Seventh Heaven. Yeah. I
And
remember the theme. I didn't watch it. Maybe my sister was watching it. I might have seen it in the background. This was on the WB, I think.
You think, right?
Yes,
Yeah. But what I did, I started, because they talk about life in general, right? The guy had like 7 kids and like all the thing. And I would start watching with the captions first because, it was a little easier. And I would get like one full episode and watch with the captions and then write it down the words that I did not know.
Wow.
And go to the dictionary, look in Portuguese, and then it started making sense. And then I would take the captions, out.
Right.
And then just doing it until I was able to understand and repeat what they were saying.
Wow, that's incredible.
So
Seventh Heaven, folks. This is how Soraia was able to master the English language.
Yeah, and that really helped in talking to people.
Absolutely, that's awesome. I love that story. Yeah. So, let's kind of fast forward a little bit. You're doing your own cleaning business, which is excellent. How did you come across the Five Rings Financial opportunity?
Yeah, I did that for about 4 years. At the end of 4 years, I had people working with me there. And then I got married. I got married and I got pregnant. And at this point, I decided that I was going to start doing something new.
Right.
I felt blessed enough to be able to, like I said, meeting my wonderful husband.
Yes.
So I did not have to work anymore, in that matter, which wasn't bad, but I wasn't using my mind, right? So I decided to have my baby, and it was very hard for me to go back to work because she was little. So I took a little while, and I decided, you know what, I wanted 2 kids. So got pregnant again. My kids are less than 2 years apart. And when it was time to me to go back to work, right, I think I mentioned to you, I still couldn't because I think we're going to talk about this, right? About my mother-in-law.
Yes, we are, yes.
But when I was ready to go back to work, I actually wanted something to do a part-time job. right? Because to me it was very, very important still taking care of the kids. And I saw an ad on Facebook with Marina Couto.
Yeah.
And that was it.
So it's amazing. You saw a Facebook ad featuring Marina Couto from the Brazilians,
and
talking about Five Rings Financial.
The words that she said that really got my attention. Flexibility of time, helping people, because I've always loved helping people. So she says, flexibility of time, helping people, changing your community, and still making some money doing it. I'm like, okay.
I'm interested in that. So you went to your first event then, and that's where you met Claudia Farabach. Is that correct?
It wasn't an event. It wasn't a Five Rings event because I was in Orlando.
Right.
And they were all in Boca Raton.
Right.
And they came to Orlando for an event, which was, I don't remember. It wasn't a Five Rings. It was something that they were.
Wasn't like a Money 101
no,
or something like that?
No. They were just here to represent Five Rings.
Gotcha. And so you met Claudia, and then that kind of kicked off this whole thing. So now from someone who kind of came to the U.S. And didn't speak the language, to someone who is now making six-figure income every year, and you absolutely love what you do. It shows that you love what you do. You really do enjoy helping people. That is not hot air. She's an amazing person, Soraia, and it's just been awesome to watch you grow. One thing that I think helped you, and you were talking about this in our kind of pre-meeting for this podcast, is that you had a very specific life situation that led you to want to give people guidance on the importance of preparing and having your financial household in order, and how much of a positive impact that can have on the people you love the most. Your mother-in-law was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at around this time that we were just discussing. She ended up living with you for 3
years,
yeah,
3.5 years.
3.5 years. But luckily she had prepared. She had a long-term care plan. She did not have living benefits, but she did have a long-term care plan. She had put forethought into preparing and putting these things in place to help her family, her son, your husband, and the rest of the family, to make sure that she wasn't a burden financially, right? Tell us a little bit about that experience and how that has influenced your career at Five Rings.
Absolutely.
Kind of how you got started.
That's one more reason that I'm so passionate about talking to people, the importance. We were the family that benefited, right, from someone thinking of the future.
Right.
In her case, she never thought that she was going to have Alzheimer's, but in case if she died, she wanted, the kids just to have a tranquil time.
Exactly.
Doing the thing. So she's always made sure to, even in her banking accounts, I put them as a custodial accounts, I think. What's it called? Think of the beneficiaries,
the beneficiary,
and everything. Yep. She had a will done.
She did all of that planning, the estate planning and the medical directives, and everything, all of that stuff.
And the living will. Yep. So little did we know how much that was going to be helpful, because throughout this time that she couldn't speak and she couldn't decide anything. Once
Alzheimer's had advanced,
it was very, very quick. It was very quick. So she had done a lot of things financially to be able to live well and to give something for the kids. And she always thought about not having to let us be a burden at all for us, right? So something that I shared with you that I always share with everybody, she even had the care of writing like a notepad, right? A little book that she had with everything, where she had the accounts, who to call, and the cutest thing, right? Because she was very independent. She lived into a community and she had a lot of friends, and even the name of the friends that she wanted us to call.
Oh, that's excellent.
So when everything happens, you get like very, very mentally, it's not a good...
Right.
It's very hard.
It's a very emotional situation. It is. And I don't... To be very clear, she did all of this planning, and it was a huge benefit for you guys. It does not mean that was an easy experience, right? Even with this planning. So one thing that you were telling me about in the other room is, I'm so glad that she planned so well. She didn't have living benefits, which we'll talk about in a second. That actually would have been even more help But she did have long-term care. She had the life insurance. She had the will. She had all of this stuff, which is great. This really underlined for you the importance of people planning and making sure that planning is happening, and you wanted to help others plan as well.
Absolutely, because the family, we are the ones that are left here dealing with the whole situation. So we were able to take care of her and also do what she wanted to be done. Because, when something like that happens, your family, and like, for example, my husband and my sister-in-law, they're very different.
Right.
And so
siblings can be very different, and they can have different opinions.
And she's a nurse, and like my husband is more the free spirited guy, and so it was very helpful for us to do everything the way that she wanted us to do for her.
Right.
And so
to honor her wishes
in every way, every way. So this is something that I tell everybody. I know you love your family, right? It doesn't matter how old you are. Just make sure that you make it easier for them in case of this happens. Because mentally, you're already like suffering to see your loved one going through the difficult situation. If you still have to take decisions, financial decisions, that it's like very, very hard.
Yeah, and adding that onto the pile of the burden that's already there with Alzheimer's, which everyone knows is just a terrible disease. It's terrible for everybody that's around that situation to witness what people with Alzheimer's go through. So she had the life insurance, she had the living will, she had all the estate planning done, which was excellent. Again, this was all very helpful. I want to talk a little bit about the long-term care, which we know is very expensive. It's amazing that she actually took that step and got that traditional long-term care coverage in, which was a big help. You were telling me that it was a great help. Don't get me wrong; like that was crucial to help you guys navigate that situation financially. It definitely did provide help. You would have loved if she would have had living benefits as well, because with long-term care, it's not like you get the money and you spend it however you want, right?
No, and you're saying that very expensive. I remember, I think she used to pay about $270 or something, which, back then it was a lot of money.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially for something you might not even need, right? Yeah. With long-term care, that's kind of a use it or lose it sort of thing. Yep. There isn't a death benefit at the end of that.
Nothing.
It's if you
and you run out of money too.
And you can run out of money as well.
So
right?
the one thing that I was mentioning that I love, talking to people about the differences that you have to go through companies. For example, for us with her, we could have hours. I think it was 5 or 6 hours for a nurse in there, but they used to send just anybody. Yeah. It was very hard to having a strange person, each time in your house.
Sure.
Taking care of.
You don't get to choose them.
No.
They just kind of show up.
You don't do that. They don't do that. And so there's a lot of, what do you call it? It's related only through the medical expenses too. And you are like in their hands.
Yep.
Right? So this is something that wasn't very helpful. We have a limit of what you can use as well. And then when it came to the facility, which is another very expensive. We're talking about, the expenses, which it was like our last resource. We did not want to do it, but it gets to a point where, for the sake for everybody, it's better to do it. And there was another big, huge expense that we had to go through as well. And because of her planning, we were able to offer her the best. Right. Because what she's done. And so the pain kind of eases it.
Yeah.
It becomes a little smaller.
A little smaller, which is huge in a situation like that. So she eventually passed away, I think 3.5, 4 years into that. Yeah. Yeah. So that whole, looking back at that experience, what you basically took from that is planning is very important. It helped us a lot. It was still a very hard situation. It always will be. Yep. But you wanted to help people do that planning so that their loved ones could get the benefit.
And I hear sometimes, we don't have a lot of stuff. And I'm like, it's not only about stuff. It's not about, only the what you have material things. It has a lot more, because even when we had to go take her to the hospital, she did not want to be resuscitated. She didn't, she had her wishes, which it was hard,
Right.
but you know, we didn't have to take that decision.
Right, because it was already made.
Yeah.
She had already made it.
Yep.
And when she was thinking clearly and when she was healthy.
Absolutely.
I think that's wonderful. So when you started at Five Rings Financial, you know, a lot of agents, when they first start in the industry, they tell you, well, it might be hard to talk to your friends or your family, but you said that actually your friends were your first clients because they had seen your experience. They knew you,
Yep.
they knew that your heart was in the right place, and they knew that you were trying to help from your experience. So those were your first clients, correct?
Yeah, a lot that happens to me coming to this career is a little different than normal, right? I had no prior experience at all,
Right.
with finances, right? So a lot of people out there, you know, is this for me? Yes, if you have the heart, if you believe it, and nowadays, especially after COVID, I believe, everybody understands the need of, you know, being educated.
Yep.
Financially.
Absolutely.
Because people really, they were caught, like, you know,
Yep,
by
they were caught.
surprise.
Yep.
And before that, we had to tell them, and they were like, but nowadays, it's a very easy thing to tell them, you got to be prepared,
Yeah.
right? Things can happen anytime. So I came to this industry not having any prior experience. And for most of people, they say, you know, friends and family don't buy from you. Like, it's a very hard thing.
Yeah.
To me, it was just different. I had, you know, people that I trusted and I loved it. And I was like, listen, just hear me out. You know, I have my field training, my field trainer that's going to come and is going to explain to you. And probably 90% of them really understood
Right.
what we were doing, and they loved it.
Yep. So you were kind of saying, look, you don't need to. It's no pressure. You don't need to buy anything, but I would like you to listen to my field trainer, and I would love your feedback. And what you found is that when they sat with Claudia and with you, they would see the value in what you guys were doing.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we fast forward again, and here we are. You're about to attend our 4th Alliance Group Leaders
Yes.
Conference. You've built this incredible career, you know, and it's just amazing to see. What would you say is your kind of philosophy as far as how you work with people, and how have you become successful within Five Rings? What are those qualities that you try to portray when you're speaking with clients that kind of drive your success?
I think I just speak from the heart.
I would agree.
And you know, it's like I understand what it is to be into the situation. I've been, I don't know if you can say blessed, but I had the opportunity twice to give a living benefit. Right. I've had two.
You've had two clients.
Two
who
clients
experienced
already.
living benefits.
The living benefits, very young people. And one, he was at the time 41 that he had cancer. Excuse me, and it was very unexpected.
Two clients of yours who have who had a living benefits policy that you helped put in place for them, and then they had one of those triggers happen: cancer, heart attack, stroke, major organ transplant. Living benefits, for those of you who might not know, are new kind of life insurance policies that allow the insured to get money in their hands from their death benefit while they're still alive through these living benefits features, and it puts a lump sum of tax-free cash in their hands.
Absolutely.
So you've had two of those.
I had two
clients.
of them.
The first one was, you were saying 41?
Yeah, he was 41. Still works in construction. So it's one of those cases that if he goes to work, he gets paid. If he doesn't, nothing happens, right? He has 2 little kids, 5 and a 7-year-old. The wife that takes care of them, so she doesn't work. So I still remember in the very beginning, the desperation, right? He was diagnosed with cancer and he had to go through treatment. And he kept postponing to do the chemo because every time that he got the chemo, he couldn't work for several days.
Gosh.
So, you know, the bills were piling up. And so when I got to them with a $211,000 check, he just fell on his knees. Like, it was very, very emotional. And I've always said, I've always believed on it, of course. But that day, I really felt like this is what I want to continue doing it.
You absolutely changed the entire course of that family's life. You know, I've obviously in my position in Alliance Group, I've been able to witness a lot of these living benefit stories. You know, real life stories from our real agents who have real clients who experience this. But what you just described, that is a guy who is desperate. I mean, when you're delaying chemo treatments, which is not ideal, obviously from a medical perspective. Just because you're in such dire straits financially that you have to have that money, $211,000 that you were able to deliver to him.
And I think he paid $35 for his policy a month. It was it was a very small policy. And there comes, we deal with a lot of Brazilians, right? We go into this community. So again, a lot of people don't speak English. We don't have families here as well. So when something strikes like this, you are on your own. So it's so important to be able to let them know that exists. It doesn't cost a lot of money, right? And as you know, we help them going through their budget. We do what we can. We find the money for them to do it. And so when I had this, the first time that I did this, I was like, okay, if I knew, I had in my heart, now I'm absolutely, certain that that's what I want to continue doing for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. It's something that always strikes me is, everyone wants to do something that changes people's lives or that has a positive effect on people. And many ways to do that in many different jobs. But when you're talking about changing a life, I mean, there's very few opportunities that other professions have to truly save a family from financial disaster the way that our agents do.
And my second one actually was a suicidal case. And this was something else. I normally become friends with my clients.
Sure.
And this couple specifically, the guy was like an amazing, like one last person that you ever think that was going to
do
happen.
That.
And he was very young as well. So it was 2 little kids, 2 girls. That was like the love of his life. A situation that you don't expect ever.
Right.
As well. And same thing, the wife, he was very, he cared so well about for them. And the wife had no idea about how to pay bills and everything. He was the one that did it.
Right.
So when that happens, same thing, come up with a check. At the point what happened, he killed himself in his own house. First thing, she said, I can never live here anymore.
Right, of
so
course.
There were so many things that she had to rearrange. And if it wasn't for this money, she always says, I don't know what I would have done. They probably, would have gone back to Brazil, and that was not what they wanted. They were here because of the kids, to give the kids a better life. So it's I can't explain to you.
That's absolutely heartbreaking. And what you have here that we've discussed, today, Soraia, is 3 different people who never thought, and their families never thought that they would need this, but they set it up anyway. When your mother-in-law never thought that she would get Alzheimer's, but she had things in place. That 41-year-old cancer patient never thought that he would get cancer. He's too young to get, too young for anything like that to happen. 41 years old. Thank goodness you were able to protect him. And then the suicide case as well. I mean, these are 3 very different things that are unexpected in 3 very different ways, right? Living benefits, would help all of those people. So, and it really is amazing what these products do and the impact that they can have. But of course, the trick is we have to let people see the value. We have to let them understand that, first of all, this exists.
This exists.
And second of all, that now is the time to do it. The better time would have been yesterday, but we can't go back and change time. So now is the time, right?
Yeah. I also volunteer. I teach finances in our church for 2 years as well. And it's incredible. We talk a lot about Brazilian communities because that's where we market, but Americans, it's something that every time we tell, and we have a pastor that he absolutely loves life insurance in general, right?
Right.
He's always being on the podium talking about the importance because he sees so many families.
Because churches get very involved in those.
And that's
those
where,
cases.
They go ask for help.
Yeah.
That's the first place that they ask for help. So he's a big advocate of the term insurance and also the will, because what can happen.
Do the planning, right?
The planning. It's always, and so it's we all, I keep saying we need like a a huge amount of people to be out there just screaming to, in the top of the world, like living benefits.
Living benefits, right? And it's what we've been doing in Alliance Group for a long time. Again, we're 25 years into doing living benefits now, and still the vast majority of people out there don't know that this type of life insurance exists. So that is our shared crusade. And Soraia, I'm so glad that we're on this crusade together. And thank you for everything that you've done for your clients, and for Alliance Group as well. Yeah,
it's a pleasure. This became like my life. It's just part of my life now. No, love it. Never awesome. Wanted to do anything else.
Absolutely. Well, Soraia, thank you so much for joining us. Fantastic conversation. Thank you. And welcome for your first time to Stratton Studios. I think you knocked it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Listen to this interview and more on the Alliance Group podcast.